If you do not file this form every day that you are non-compliant, you could be fined up to $500, and there's a maximum penalty of up to 2 years in jail. There have been a lot of major changes to anti-money laundering laws, and these changes have to do with the Corporate Transparency Act, which applies to pretty much all businesses here in the United States. All right, and we're going to talk about how it works and some really scary stuff about this. I'm concerned. I'm really concerned, and that's why I'm doing this video, to make sure that you at least know all the information and so you can avoid the bad things, which I'm going to talk about. So we're going to talk about who this is for, how to remain in compliance, and then how to actually go through and do this yourself if you want to file this thing. Basically, what happened is that we have this Corporate Transparency Act, and this was, basically passed in January 1 of 2022, but it went into play as of January 1, 2024. Basically, what is happening is that you have to file a beneficial ownership information report if you are a business owner. What happens is, if you do not file this form every day that you are non-compliant, you could be fined up to $500, and there's a maximum penalty of up to 2 years in jail. Now, I guess the good news here is that they do put a cap on how much that you can be charged for this or sanctioned for this, which is up to $10,000 total. But I mean, we're talking jail time, we're talking $10,000. This is a huge deal. A Music Attorney is your #1 legal resource for artists, producers, and record labels. Get contract templates, one-on-one legal advice, free master classes, and everything you need for your music business. Go to topmusicattorney.com. So the way that this works is that if you had a US-based entity already in existence prior to January 1st of 2024, then you have a full calendar year until January 1, 2025 to file this B.O.I report, which is the beneficial ownership information, which I'll give you the details of what it is like and what goes in it. So you have the full year to do this, which is great. You have a little bit of time. However, for new entities that are registered after January 1 of 2024, you only have 30 days to file this report. And again, if you don't and you fail to timely do this, every day you could be charged up to $500 for the max of $10,000. The B.O.I report is filed through the U.S. Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and the B.O.I basically is in place because the government's trying to crack down. U.S. government doesn't want more, illegal activities such as money laundering, money fraud, financing terrorist groups, tax fraud, and any kind of money fraud that you can think of. So what they're doing now is that they are forcing businesses to provide this report as part of their ongoing operations so that hopefully the government can catch criminals and prevent these types of crimes. All right. So they're like setting up these fake companies and they're shell corporations and they're running money through it. And so, the government is banking on being able to catch these fraudsters. It's impacting all of us, and now we need to file this report, and then there's just huge penalties if we don't. So who does this apply to? If you are the owner of a limited liability company, so an LLC, a corporation, which would include an S corporation, and really any business that can be created by filing paperwork with your applicable Secretary of State or other entity, which forms a business. And this also includes foreign entities, right? So if you are a foreign company and you are here in the United States registered, it applies to you as well. Okay, so it's pretty much everyone, but there is an exemption list. And on the exemption list, there are 23 categories, and it's a pretty long list, but let me go through some of the big ones. Okay, so if you fall into some of these, if you fall into any of these categories that I name, then you are not required to file the B.O.I report, such as banks, credit unions, security reporting issuers, depository institutions, holding companies, money service businesses, securities brokers and dealers, securities exchanging and clearing agencies, investment companies or investment advisors, insurance companies, venture capital fund advisors, accounting firms, tax-exempt entities. So this would include 501c3s, entities assisting tax-exempt entities, and inactive entities. So that last one right there. If your company goes inactive at some point, okay, which is actually a designation through usually your Secretary of State, if you go inactive at some point, you're not going to have to file this report. but you also need to be in one of these other categories if you are actually active. Now, there also is an exemption if you happen to be a very large company. So in the United States, and I'll tell you how this is defined, but if you're a very large company, you're going to be heavily, you have to go through all kinds of hoops anyway. And so the government's like, we put enough pressure on you, so you don't have to do this. But anyway, so they qualify a large operational company as having at least 20 full-time employees, $5 million of gross receipts from the previous year, and if you have a physical location in the United States. So this is definitely going to apply to some of my clients. And so that's good news, right? So you already have lots of regulations on you and your business. So this one is not going to apply. But for everyone else, that means that we have to file this B.O.I. report. So then you might ask, well, does this apply if I'm a sole proprietorship, or if I'm a partnership, or if I have a trust? And the answer is no, because remember, going back to kind of what I was mentioning, if you have to file paperwork with the state that you reside in to form the legal entity, so the LLC or the corporation, for it to become a legal entity, that's what puts you into kind of this box. So if you're a sole proprietorship, if you're a partnership, if you have a trust, those are not things that you have to file with the state. So those would not be included in who has to actually file this report. All right, so real quick, what goes into the B.O.I. report? It's going to be stuff like your business name, your EIN, your business address. But remember, we were talking about the beneficial owners of the company. All your information has to be in this report. To qualify as a beneficial owner, you have to have at least 25% ownership in the company or control of the company, or you have to have what we call substantial control of the business. All right, so if you own like 51% of the company and you have all the voting rights, we would say you definitely have control, but obviously the 25% ownership interest is probably the one that I would default to the most. And so, with the beneficial ownership interest and what goes in the B.O.I. report, some people get concerned about anonymity. So we have clients and we have students as well who have registered their LLCs or registered their corporations in other states. Okay, so this might be in, let's say, Wyoming, Nevada, New Mexico, Delaware, because you can file and keep private that you're the owner of the company. And so, I've been getting emails from clients just being, oh my gosh, is this information going to be public? And the answer is no. It is not going to be public, but there are certain institutions that will be able to access this information. These are some of them. So federal agencies that are engaged in national security, law enforcement agencies, if they have a court order, Treasury Department, the financial institutions, but they have to get your consent. But general members of the public will not have access to this information. If you're a hustler like me, working on your career every day, go to topmusicattorney.com to apply to work directly with me. Let's get your music business to 6 figures and beyond. That was a lot. So let me just recap, all right? So B.O.I. reports, we're going to file them with FinCEN, okay? And as far as the electronic filing, you just literally go to the FinCEN website and then you can do it there yourself. Heavily regulated businesses and other categories of businesses will not have to file, but quite frankly, most corporations, most LLCs are going to fall under these definitions. And so you are going to need to file this B.O.I. report. If you don't, it could be up to $500 a day, up to $10,000, and up to 2 years in jail if they're feeling feisty that day. My goodness. And then just to recap on the deadline. So if you started your company January 1 of 2024, afterwards, you have to file your B.O.I. report within 30 days. If you started your entity before the 1st of 2024, January, then you're essentially good to go for the year until January 1 of 2025. Okay? This is a lot. If you do need help, please reach out to Delgado Entertainment Law. We can definitely get this filed for you and assist to make sure that your money stays protected.